real surprise. Gert Hamburg, Cradley Heath, English League runner, is at the front of the pack for Denmark. In blue, Sam Ermolenko, the US rider. Ermolenko looking to try and make a move on Gert Hamburg. In third place is Jimmy Nilsson of Sweden, and trailing at the back is Gary Havelock, England team captain. It's got to be said, the English team, made up of many youngsters, and really and truly they are going to be struggling against this extremely classy field, the Danes of which must be the favourites for the title. They're on the last turn. No great surprises, I suppose. Gert Hamburg then takes the win from Sam Ermolenko, Gary Havelock in third, and Jimmy Nilsson in fourth. So Gary Havelock picks up that third place. A good fight from him, opening his account with 1 point, but Gert Hamburg for the Danes gets 3 points for his race win. A fairly standard start to the action. Here we'll see that close first turn. Well, certainly the inside gate looks quite quick. Oh, dear me, you can see how very, very close that was to disaster. Well, Ermolenko and Jimmy Nilsson, very nearly a large coming together there in the first turn. Ermolenko at this point looks fairly determined not to let the Dane get away with it, but had to settle in the end for 2 points. While the Danes open up. Oh, dear me. That was actually Hamburg and Jimmy Nilsson that had it coming together. So the Scandinavians fighting their way through it. We can have a good team here this weekend. So then, while we watch Hamburg in the early stages of the race in slow motion, Heat 2 is getting themselves ready to make themselves out onto the track. Well, of course, if the Danes win here this weekend, they'll have a clean sweep of all 3 Speedway World Finals. They've done the World Individual Finals, they've done the World Pairs Finals, and now this is the World Team Finals. So, the lineup then for Heat 2 is Tommy Knudsen. Well, he's a fairly famous Dane, isn't he? Tommy Knudsen in the white helmet, Billy Hamill for the Americans, Henrik Gustafsson for the Swedes, and Marvin Cox, temporary pool skipper, in yellow and black for the England Young Lions, as I unravel my tongue. Three there is Henrik Gustafsson, Swedish rider. A lot of tension on here. There was a lot of controversy at the World Individual Final with silencers. Seemed to make the grade as far as decibels were concerned. Seemed to be a little bit on the loud side, but no such problems here at the team final. So then, Heat 2. Riding 13 is Marvin Cox. Cox replacing the injured Kelvin Tatum in the lineup. Tatum will certainly be a much missed England team captain on this occasion. Could definitely have done with some help. Kelvin Tatum and Simon Cross are both out injured. The track, of course, being a little bit slick. 300 metres here in Vojens, and there are the rundowns of the point scoring so far. The Swedes back to no points whatsoever. Watching the tape, that's the white helmet of Tommy Knudsen, and an absolute flyer from the outside gate. Absolute flyer from him. Billy Hamill slots into second place. So we have Tommy Knudsen leading for the Danes. Billy Hamill in second place in the blue helmet for the Americans. In the red helmet in third place is Henrik Gustafsson for the Swedes, and trailing at the back in yellow and black is Marvin Cox, looking to try and open his account with a point if possible, but it's a tall order indeed. Tommy Knudsen leads the second heat of the World Team Speedway Final at Vojens in Denmark. Tommy Knudsen, 29 years old, has a superb World Team Cup Final record and improves upon it. Just one more race win. So Tommy Knudsen takes the win from Billy Hamill, from Henrik Gustafsson, from Marvin Cox. Well, you can see here Tommy Knudsen, absolute flying gait, absolutely found the drive into the first turn and never looked like being headed. Oh, the action replay, and from a different angle. Tommy Knudsen then leads, Billy Hamill in second, Henrik Gustafsson gets third, and Marvin Cox is in fourth place. So heat 3 comes out onto the track now. This is going to be an interesting one. Hans Nielsen, third place in the World Individual Team Final. World Individual Final, I should say. Just a couple of weeks ago. Rickardsson there in the red helmet for Sweden, second in the individual final. So in the white helmet, Hans Nielsen. In the yellow and black helmet, Martin Duggan. And in the red, Tony Rickardson. In the blue, Ronnie Corey for the US. And the third heat is underway, and again that outside gate looks quick. Martin Duggan in yellow and black slots into second place behind Hans Nielsen, Danish team captain, third in the World Championship, individual World Championship at Oxford. League rider, well, Hans Nielsen absolutely flying at the front of the field, and Martin Duggan coming under all sorts of pressure for that second place. Tony Rickardsson, the Swede, giving him a hard time all the way around. Can Duggan hang on to second place in the third heat? Duggan still sits there, so we're on the last lap. Hans Nielsen leads from Duggan. Martin Duggan, 22 years old, making his World Team Cup Final debut, and what a way to open his account as well, with second place holding off the man who finished second in the individual World Final. But Hans Nielsen wins the third heat from Martin Duggan, a great ride from him, from Tony Rickardsson for the Swedes, from Ronnie Corey, the US rider, doesn't quite make the gate, but look at that start. Duggan gets the drive, slots into second place. Well, a really, really determined ride from him, and a well-deserved second place. So then, the running score so far, and the Danes absolutely dominating the scoring so far, with a maximum 9 points from their first three heats. We're on heat 4, the tapes are ready. And an absolute flyer from Jano Petersen. He got the drive out of the outside gate, and was a unbelievable start from Petersen. His first ride of the evening, current world champion, blasting away from Per Johnson, Swedish team captain, in second place in the red helmet, and Chris Louis, the Ipswich rider in yellow and black, in third. Greg Hancock bringing up the rear for the US. Well, they won't be happy with their start for the evening's entertainment, that's for sure. This is the fourth heat of 20. And Jano Petersen, well, dominating this fourth heat. And the ride is fairly well spread out now on the last lap. Jano Petersen takes yet another 3 points for the Danish team. A bit of a battle going on the back there for the last point. But Jano Petersen then wins the fourth heat of the evening. In second place, Per Johnson. In third place, Chris Louis. And in fourth, Greg Hancock of the USA. So here is the action replay of the start. Well, that shows you how determined the Danes are, riding as... We're going to take a short break. Going to be back with you very soon on Eurosport. Don't go away.
Eurosport.
For Heat 5, the World Teams Final from Vojens in Denmark. Our scores along the bottom of the screen there show just how much Denmark are dominating this. championship, but all the three other teams are equal on 4 points. So a big fight on for second place in this team final championship. And in white is Hans Nielsen, captain for the Danish team. Billy Hamill is in the blue helmet for the US. Jimmy Nilsson in the red helmet for the Swedes. And in the yellow and black helmet is Chris Louis of Ipswich for the England Lions team. And Louis there holding the inside of the track. But Hans Nielsen, the man in the white helmet, rides the bumps on this slick 300-metre track. Well, I've said it already. Denmark are looking at 9th World Team win, and they've never been beaten at an international meeting at the track at Vojens. And they had a secret test session here prior to this race. The last lap then, Hans Nielsen. Just one more turn to go. Well, an unbroken maximum so far for the Danes. Incredible riding indeed. So, Hans Nielsen wins from Billy Hamill for the US, from Jimmy Nilsson for the Swedish team, and from Chris Louis for the Brits. Heat 6 then, straight on to Heat 6. There are our point scoring. The Americans at last gaining an edge over the trailing two teams of Britain and Sweden. What's the tape? And again, the Danes absolutely get the power down from the tapes. Jano Petersen in white, Samo Malenko in blue, Henrik Gustafsson in red helmet, and Martin Duggan in the yellow and black. So Duggan, a great ride from him in his opening ride of the evening, but Jano Petersen, current world champion. Well, it really is a question on how anybody is going to beat the Danes. So far we've seen them dominate this meeting from the start. Jano Petersen on the second ride of the night. Petersen's 28 years old and in scintillating form. Martin Duggan trailing at the back of this run. He's not going to pick up a point, so Jano Petersen wins. 3 points for him. Samo Malenko, the US team captain, in second place. Henrik Gustafsson in third, and Martin Duggan without a point in fourth. You can see the style of Jano Petersen, absolutely immaculate. Samo Malenko looked like he was on the gas through there as well. He was determined not to let Jano Petersen get away, but in the end didn't have very much to do or say about it. Heat 7 then, and the lineup is in the blue helmet Greg Hancock for the US, in the white helmet Gert Hanberg, in the red Tony Ricardson, and in the yellow and black Marvin Cox. So this should be quite a well-balanced race indeed. There is Marvin Cox getting himself ready. Blue helmet of Greg Hancock. Then Hans Nielsen talking to Brian Carter. Carter reserve for the Danish team. And Heat 7 gets underway. Well, Marvin Cox found himself there with a whole load of drive out of the gate. So Cox in the lead. That's what it is. So Cox was on the outside of Cox and was determined to take that place. And indeed, Cox finds himself going from first to last, all in one move. So Greg Hancock leads from Gert Hanberg from the Swedes. Same as Tony Ricardson from the Swedes in red. Well, what a battle going on for the last point here. Marvin Cox is battling all the way for that last point. And at the moment, Greg Hancock is going to get 3 points on the last lap. Gert Hanberg, second place. Gert Hanberg holds second place. It's the Americans that are going to get a maximum here. In third is Tony Ricardson, holding off a determined effort from Marvin Cox of the England Lions. But the Americans claw back at least 1 extra point over the Danes. Is it going to be enough? That's the question, of course. Well, they go into their slow-mos. You can see there Marvin Cox. Well, he might be wearing 13, but he's doing all he could to avoid any bad luck whatsoever and trying to grab a point from the Swedes, but in the end his efforts were thwarted by Tony Rickardsson. Of course, Rickardsson being the man who finished second in the World Individual Final, so we'd expect quite a good ride from him. Heat 8 then. A line-up in Tommy Knudsen, Per Jönsson, the captain for the Swedes, Gary Havelock, the captain for the England Lions, and Ronnie Corey for the US. That's Ronnie Corey in the blue helmet. The red helmet is Per Jönsson. The helmet colour what teams they're in. So white for the Danes, red for the Swedes, blue for the US, and yellow and black for the English team. Gate. But look at that man, Gary Havelock. He really was making the most out of a good start there. And Gary Havelock loses second place. Well, I was going to say that hanging on there to second place, but Per Jönsson for the Swedes moves through into second. But meanwhile, Tommy Knudsen leads for the World Team Final. Jönsson looking for the inside. Tommy Knudsen holding it. Well, the racing not exactly been the most exciting speedway I've ever seen, but certainly very, very fast indeed. The last lap then for Tommy Knudsen in the white helmet, leading Per Jönsson, Swedish team captain, from Gary Havelock in third place, hanging on to that 1 point from Ronnie Corey for the US, trailing in last place. Well, a disaster indeed for the current champions, which are the Americans. They really do seem to be struggling with the points at the moment. And Ronnie Corey not helping their efforts there. Well, the inside gate certainly seems to be the one on at the moment. Of course, it alternates between teams, so no unfair advantage is given to anybody. Oh, look at that, Knudsen. Stylish, quick, and of course he knows the fast way round here at Vojens. Heat 9 then. The lineup is Paul Thorpe, back for the English Lions, in blue, and it is, I was about to say, Janno Petersen, the 18-inch cricket with Jimmy Nilsson for the Swedish team in second place, and Rick Nelson for the Americans third. Of course, full order for him, back and forth. 27 years old, licensed racing. But at the moment, this race is led by Janno Petersen. He's 28 years old. Leads Jimmy Nilsson, the Swede in the red helmet. 24 years old. Derek on the last lap. Janno Petersen on for a personal maximum. Dropped at the moment, as far as I can see, just 1 point out of all the Danish rides, which has got to be an incredible achievement. And they really are working as a tremendous team. So Janno Petersen takes the win, Heat 10 then. And the lineup is, as you can see there, Greg Hancock in the blue helmet, white helmet Hans Nielsen, yellow and black helmet Gary Havelock, and Henrik Gustafsson in red. So, Greg Hancock trying to salvage some current championship honour, leads the Heat 10 halfway stage of this championship. Greg Hancock, the American, riding number 7 there, holding off Hans Nielsen in the white helmet. Oh, that'll give him a lot of pleasure. Trailing by so many points. Hold on, Hans Nielsen, he'll fall back 1 more point from the day. So, Greg Hancock leads from Hans Nielsen, from Gary Havelock for the England Lions, from Henrik Gustafsson for the Swedes. Gets himself out in the dirt, looks for the drive. He's getting pretty slippery by now. Now, around the drive to beat the American. American. Greg Hancock then takes 3 points from Hans Nielsen, from Gary Havelock, from Henrik Gustafsson. There we saw the tapes just held there by the front wheel. I didn't quite see who held onto the tapes, but certainly very nearly an exclusion, an imminent exclusion. So we're on to Heat 11. Tommy Knudsen, Sam Amalenko, Tony Rickardson and Chris Louis. Oh, look at the lead the Danes have. The Brits trailing with 6 points now. They've really got to watch out for this. If they don't do a bit better than this, they're going to find themselves having to qualify for this series next year. That won't go down well. That'll be the first time, incidentally, if the British team stays where they are at the moment, that'll be the first time they've ever had to qualify for a World Six final, if that indeed is what happens. Heat 11. Knudsen leads from Sam Amalenko in blue, from the red-helmeted Tony Rickardson, from Chris Louis in 4th place, not picking any points up for the England Lions. Well, a bit of a disaster for those. I think that's an understatement. Chris Louis, only 22 years old, finds himself really in very, very deep water indeed. Despite the determined efforts of the English team, they really are struggling with this. Tommy Knudsen leads Heat 11 from Sam Amalenko, US team captain. Amalenko, 30 years old, very experienced in these meetings, but it is Tommy Knudsen that takes the win from Sam Amalenko, from Tony Rickardson, from Chris Louis. Well, we wait for the grid lineup for Heat 12. Amalenko giving a fuel sample. Check of the methanol straight from the tank and off to be analysed to make sure it doesn't have any additives in it that are illegal. Methanol's quite cold by the look of it. So into the sample box goes some of Amalenko's fuel, to be followed no doubt by a few more riders later on in the night. Quick discussion over that while we go on for a replay of Heat 11 start. Good start there from Chris Louis, but it is Tommy Knudsen, the Dane. Grabs the first turn from Rickardson, but Sam Amalenko finds the drive out in the dirt and blasts down the outside of the Swede. Slots into second place, which he holds to the end of the race. So Heat 11 all over and done with.
Sam Amalenko, defending champions of the United States. It hasn't exactly been your evening so far. What's gone wrong?
Well, the Danes are just really strong on their home turf. They've got it together. You know, they had a secret practice the day before we did, and they probably had a lot more time on the track to dial things in, and they're taking advantage of it.
But I mean, that extra day of practice, is that the whole secret to the Danes' success at the moment? But I mean, if
they got some good riders on the track, there's no doubt about it. But when you got 2 or 3 hours on a track to test and try things out, you can surely get ready a lot better than 2 6-minute sessions.
Is that you out of the race already now?
Sorry?
Is that you out of the race already now?
I don't think so. No, we're still fighting. We're not going to give up until it's over.
Well, we're going to go to a short break.
Eurosport.
Hamburg, Hamill and Duggan. This is going to be a flyer. Per Johnson, team captain for the Swedes. Billy Hamill for the Americans. Gert Hamburg for the Danes. And Martin Duggan in yellow and black for the England Lions. There you're looking at Martin Duggan. Well, he had a good opening ride. So, watch the tapes. And away for Heat 12 of the 20. Oh, dear me, that was extremely close there. Duggan had absolutely nowhere to go and just had to lay it down into the turn. So, Per Johnson got the better of that, just about. Per Johnson, the Swede, leads from the blue-helmeted Billy Hamill, from Gert Hamburg, from Martin Duggan. Oh, not quite Martin Duggan there in third place. Per Johnson holding off Billy Hamill in this Heat 12. Gert Hamburg just about holding off Martin Duggan now. Duggan do what he might to try and get that point, eluding him. We're on to the last lap. Vojens leads from Billy Hamill, from Gert Hamburg for the Danes, from Martin Duggan for the English Lions team. Vojens, 25 years old, and winner of Heat 12 from Billy Hamill, from Gert Hamburg, from Martin Duggan. Well, I hope they show us the start again in slow motion, because that certainly was a very, very close start to this Heat 12. Probably the closest first turn we've seen of the night. You see there Martin Duggan getting the drive out of the turn, but no good to him. Heat 13, as the Danes extend their lead. Heat 13, Henrik Gustafsson in red, Gert Hamburg again in white, and Paul Thorpe in yellow and black. And that was again an extremely close first turn, and the Dane found himself pushed right out to the outside. So it's Henrik Gustafsson that has the advantage at the moment, but the Dane, Gert Hamburg, fights back for 2 points through the bumps. He is doing all he can to hang on to that. Rick Miller, who is a reserve, by the way. This is his first ride as reserve for the Americans. And of course Paul Thorpe, reserve for the England Lions team. It's his first ride as well. So, battling away for the last point of the reserve. But at the front is Henrik Gustafsson from Gert Hamburg, from Rick Miller of the USA, and from Paul Thorpe of the England Lions. But Sweden grab 3 points. While the Danes can only manage on this occasion a mere 2 points for second place, and Rick Miller for the US not really making up for the night's rides of this meeting. Certainly the current holders, as if they're not going to do anything as far as retaining the World Team Cup. We're on to Heat 14 now. The line-up: Tommy Gunnarsson again, Martin Duggan, Jimmy Nilsson and Greg Hancock. Pretty close to the point where the Danes only need a few points really to have this championship in the bag, but it is Jimmy Nilsson fighting with Martin Duggan. Martin Duggan, an absolute flyer from the England Lions there. This is the kind of thing that lifts the English riders. Tommy Gunnarsson though finds the drive from somewhere. Nobody knows where he did it, but he found it. Got the grip, found the traction, and Duggan coming under extreme pressure from Jimmy Nilsson. So the Swedes got through now to second place. Duggan pushed back to the 1 point scoring third place, but Duggan is not over and done with yet. Duggan fights back for second place. Or does he? Greg Hancock having a look through now. Well, what a battle this is. The best race of the night so far. Last lap left. Tommy Gunnarsson managing to keep himself in front of the melee behind him for the 2 points, which is held currently just by Martin Duggan from the Swede, Jimmy Nilsson from Greg Hancock in the non-point scoring last place. Tommy Gunnarsson from Martin Duggan. Well, there's Danish team manager Kjeld Lund punching the air because he knows the Danes are close to winning. Well, they won that one. The series is almost in the bag. Right, this could be critical. The lineup for Heat 15 is Jano Peterson. They certainly put out their good men when they want the points. Tony Rickardson for the Swedes. Billy Hamill for the Americans, and Gary Havelock, English Lions team captain. That is the score so far. The Danes just need a maximum here, and they have got this World Team Speedway final in the bag. So 3 points from this man Jano Peterson will see them win this championship, and then it's all showboating for the final 5 heats, because there are 5 more heats after this one. Oh, Jano Peterson on the inside gate. Well, that's proved to be just about fastest so far tonight. So Peterson knows what he's got to do. If he can win this, he wins the championship for the Swedes. Heat 15 gets underway. Peterson straight into the lead, followed by Tony Rickardson for the Swedes. Blue-helmeted Billy Hamill for the US team in third, under extreme pressure from Gary Havelock. Gary Havelock then snatches third place from the American Bill Hamill. But Jano Peterson in a championship winning position. If he gets these 3 points, the Danes cannot be headed in the championship. And I really am not a man that can bet against it, I've got to say. Jano Janno Peterson leads for the day on heat 15 of the 20 heat championship. Oh, the style of the man. Hard to see how he's going to be beaten in this race. There's something disastrous happened. The ability of these things has improved over the years 100-fold. Janno Peterson then from Tony Ricketson, from Billy Hamill, from Gary Havelock, forced back into 4th place. Well, that's it as far as the Danes are concerned. The Danes now cannot be headed as the Danish crowd at Vojens, testament to the achievement. I suppose the only thing now the Danes have got to go for is a record point score for the World Team Final. Well, there it is. Danish team onto the track. Early celebrations for them. Janno Peterson gets the customary leg up. 17,000 patriotic Danes screaming their heads off. Quite rightly too. Well, Denmark really, we thought they'd be good, and they've not disappointed us at all there. Well, the team manager, Gerald Lund, very happy with that indeed. We go on then to heat 16. Oh, and that is extremely tight. And that is Sam Emelianenko. The US team captain finds himself with nowhere to go except to lay it down or the fence. So, well, no great drama there, Sam Emelianenko. He certainly had worse than that. I think that was a coming together between the American and Per Johnson, the red-helmeted Per Johnson. Let's have a look at our replay now. Per Johnson, number 1 in a red helmet there. Kicks it sideways and just manages to collect Emelianenko's leg. Well, it was all very close indeed. I think that will be adjudged as basically just a Speedway first turn minor incident. Let's have a look and see how they're lining up. Yeah, all 4 riders back on the grid. That's a good decision. Confirmation along there of the point scoring. The Danes so far in front, they've won it of course. But the Americans and the Swedes, it's all on for the second place. The English team looked well out of it with only 8 points. But it's on for the Americans and the Swedes. They've got to fight for second place. What's the take? Heat 16 restart. Hans Nielsen absolutely flies away from the outside gate. He has behind him Per Johnson, team captain for the Swedes. Well, the Swedes obviously, but Emelianenko gets himself to the second place. Well, it's really the second place at the moment. It's between the Swedes and the Americans. But look at this. Marvin Cox is finds himself up there in second place. Cox looking through in second place. But it's this man, Hans Nielsen, showboating at the front of the field, just going for the biggest score ever in the World Team Final for the Danes. Oh, what a great ride from Marvin Cox. Superb class. As is this man, race leader, Hans Nielsen. Cox is not letting Nielsen get away. Cox is having a great ride in second place. Marvin Cox then for the England Lions. It's not over yet. Per Johnson for the Swedes gets that 1 point and moves ahead in second place as a team from the Americans because Sam Emelianenko can only manage 4th place and an on-point scoring position. Well, here we have something quite interesting. Road racing fans, of course, will be quite familiar with this sight. Tyre warmers. Of course, Formula 1 car racing fans will be even more familiar with it. But it is now in Speedway as well. Brings the tyres up to the working temperature before they move out of the paddock onto the grid. So that you've got a consistent tyre on the rear end of the bike. And they know what to expect from that. Well, Rick Miller, number 18. Checking out the traction of the Vojens track. And there is Brian Karja. His first outing for the Danes. Well, the Danes bringing out their reserve. Possibly now because they have it in the bag as far as the championship's concerned. Red helmeted Jimmy Nilsson for the Swedes. Jimmy Nilsson will be looking to try and maximise his points here, because they are, the Swedish team, 1 point in front of the Americans at this stage. Grid line up then for Heat 17. Jimmy Nilsson, Rick Miller, Brian Carger and Chris Louis to take up his starting gate place. There is confirmation of the total score so far. 3 more heats after this one, so a battle on for the second place in the final between the Swedes and the Americans. Just 1 point in it between them. Red helmeted Jimmy Nilsson, blue helmeted American Rick Miller, white helmeted Brian Carger, and yellow and black helmeted Chris Louis. Started trying to get them under control. Come on, boys, get yourself lined up. To the tapes. And here's Carger for the Danes. His first ride out. I'm sure he'll be nervous, but he knows the work's over and done with, so no real pressure on him. He'll have a good ride. And they're away then for Heat 17. And Jimmy Nilsson for the Swedes blasts into the lead from Brian Carger, the white helmeted Dane. Visor disappearing over the fence there, but it's Rick Miller for the Americans now, moving through into second place. Well, the Swedes picking up a point extra here and there over the US team, and they really do need to. Remember, the US team were the current holders. They've had that snatched from the Danes here at Vojens. Jimmy Nilsson for the Swedes though leads this Heat 17 from Rick Miller, from Brian Carger, from Chris Louis, in an on-point scoring slate. Well, 19 there, the Dane, white helmeted Brian Carger, reserved for the team. His services needed that greatly on this particular occasion. But Jimmy Nilsson for the Swedes wins from Rick Miller for USA, from Brian Carger for the Danish team, from Chris Louis for the English Lions. Jimmy Nilsson moves the Swedes 1 more point in front of the Americans. They now lead by 2. Bikes off to the centre of the track for just a little bit more scrutineering and checking, no doubt. There he is with his box of tricks in his hand. That scrutineer is going to make sure that the fuel and everything else is up to spec at the end of this team final. Riders wander back to the paddock. Well, while they sort themselves out in the middle of the track, we're on Eurosport are going to take one more short break. So the grid line up then for Heat 18 is Hans Nielsen in the white helmet for the Danes, Henrik Gustafsson for the Swedes, Marvin Cox, the determined Marvin Cox, it has to be said, for the English Lions, and Greg Hancock trying to salvage some points if he can to bring the Americans back up into that second place. The Swedes hold it at the moment, as you can see there from our caption. The English Lions team struggling down in 4th place, it has to be said, but the pressure really on Greg Hancock now for the Americans. Greg Hancock, 21 years old, really has got to do the business in this race if they are to finish in just that second place in the final, which is currently held by the Swedes. Hans Nielsen then for the Danes. Not really a lot for him to do except showboating. Hans Nielsen is the captain of the Danish team. Heat 18 gets underway. I don't know where the Danes find the drive from. It doesn't matter what gate they start from. Nielsen then blasts into the lead from the extremely determined Marvin Cox. Marvin Cox deputising, remember, for the injured Kelvin Tatum and doing a good job to all intents and purposes. Well, one thing the English team hasn't lacked, and that's determination. And of course, if it's race wins you need, Hans Nielsen's the man for the job. Hans Nielsen then leads for the Danes from an extremely determined yellow and black Marvin Cox. Cox holding on, an equally determined Swede, Henrik Gustafsson in red, to his right and to his left, Greg Hancock for the US. Well, really, the US need to make some points up here somewhere if they're the finishing runner-up spot. Over the bumps, Hans Nielsen holds first place in this Heat 18. Well, the Swede Henrik Gustafsson has moved through into second place. Big wheelie there for Hans Nielsen. Well, I said showboating, and we are not going to be disappointed. Henrik Gustafsson for Sweden finishes in second place, extending their lead over the US. Marvin Cox for the England Lions team finishes in third, and Greg Hancock in a non-point scoring last place. More bikes to the centre of the track, where they will wait for the end of the race meeting and take no further part in the proceedings. That's their night's work over and done with. These riders' last ride, while we go on to Heat 19, the penultimate heat of the evening. The Swedes and the Americans still doing battle for the runner-up situation, runner-up position I should say. But it's got to be said, the Swedes hold the advantage at the moment, and there are only 2 races to go. Well, of course, in Denmark at the moment, Speedway is on such a high that it's rivaling football as the country's national sport. And you can see why, with the strength of riders and the support they have. 17,000 people in the stadium for a team's final is not a bad crowd indeed. Heat 19 lineup, point scoring so far along the bottom of your screen there. Confirmation that the Swedes now hold a 4-point advantage for second place over the Americans in third, over the Brits trailing in last place. In fourth, the white helmeted Tommy Knudsen. Sits patiently, yellow and black, Gary Havelock, team captain for the England Lions, beside him. But Emalenko here as well. Sam Emalenko in blue, US team captain, looking to try and maximise and gets a great start from the outside at the tape. Brilliant start there from Emalenko for the US, absolutely incredible. Emalenko clears off in the lead from the white helmeted Tommy Knudsen, but cutting on the inside of him is Tony Rickardson, runner-up in the individual world final. And a man that knows that he mustn't let the Americans get too far in front if they're to retain the Swedish team second place in this final so far. But Emalenko leads from the red helmeted Tony Rickardson for the Swedes, from the white helmeted Tommy Knudsen for the Danes, from Gary Havelock, England team captain, trailing in an on-point scoring position, back in last place. Last lap then. Oh, Emalenko certainly looks to have this under control. Rickardson holds second. Knudsen. I look down my notes. Knudsen in third place. That's the first 1-point scoring position the Danes have had all night. Doesn't really matter, of course, fairly academic. Sam Emalenko then wins and claws back 1 point on the Swedes. So 3 points now the advantage the Swedes hold over the Americans for that second place. And we're into the last race of the evening. A replay then of the start of Heat 19. And confirmation of Emalenko's determination to not go down without a fight. Current final championship team final holders are the Americans. They've lost that tonight to the Danes. Can they salvage second place, which is currently held by the Swedes? Well, obviously the last race of the evening, Heat 20, is coming up, and the Americans, if they win that and the Swedes don't even score, the Americans can only equal the Swedes' points, so they would have to go into a runoff, a scenario I'm sure that the Swedes would hope it doesn't get to. But the Swedes only have to score 1 point out of this last ride, even with the Americans winning it, and they retain that second place in the 1991 World Speedway Teams Final. Now, while we watch Emalenko winning the penultimate heat of the night to music, Rickardson there giving Knudsen a bit of a hard time, pushing him back to third. And that was the second third place of the night for the Danes. The only other one was Gert Hamburg in Heat 12. The lineup: awaits for heat 20. That's Martin Dugard. He's happy. English Lions team may be in last place, but it's been a determined evening from then. Dugard, 22 years old. Jano Petersen with the white hat for the Danes. And behind him, Billy Hamill for the Americans, sitting, waiting patiently, knowing what he's got to do really here. Hamill has got to win this race with the Swedes not coming anywhere. So the pressure on this man, Billy Hamill for the USA. He's the guy that's got to do the business. Well, while we don't wait for them to come out of the tunnel for the final race, the scenario is America must win this race with the Swedes not scoring a point if the Americans are to go to a runoff for second place in this 91 Speedway World Teams Final. Well, the England Lions, of course, disappointingly have no chance of improving on their position in this final, and they are now relegated to have to pre-qualify next year to get in the team's final, which is a task indeed. Well, of course, while the English team are set for that particular scenario, the Danes' win here has meant that they have a clean sweep of all the Speedway World Championships this year, the World Pairs Final, the World Individual Final, and now the World Teams Final. So really and truly, Danish Speedway dominating the world. Martin Dugard in yellow and black. For this Heat 20, the final heat of the night, Per Johnson in red, Billy Hamill for the Americans in blue with a great uphill task, and Jano Petersen in white for the Danes. Well, while we wait for the Swede to take his place, the team captain, of course, Per Johnson in the red helmet. He knows all he has to do is get 1 point here to secure Sweden's second place in this 91 World Team Final. Himself ready for Heat 20. White helmet there, Jano Petersen on the outside. That's never affected the Danes. From there starting, and they're gaining really well. And again, Jano Petersen. Another great start from him. In the blue helmet, Billy Hamill. Now he must win this race with the Swede, Per Johnson, not scoring. Well, I think that's a pretty tall order to expect, and I think he's got to be extremely lucky to be able to achieve that, especially with Jano Petersen in the form that he's in tonight. Petersen leads from Billy Hamill, from Per Johnson, from Martin Dugard for the English Lions. Petersen, immaculate as ever, at the front of the field, in the final heat of the World Team Speedway Final, on the last lap. Well, the American Billy Hamill is going to have to settle with his team for third place in this year's final. Current holders America, of course, being beaten back to third place. Well, that leaves the point scoring by my reckoning, and it's yet to be officially confirmed. The Danes win, obviously, from the Swedes in second place, from the Americans in third, and from a trailing English Lions team. There's the Danish flag, security men onto the track, complete with dogs. Well, I don't think there's a lot of crowd trouble at any of the Speedway meetings that I attend, so I think we can be pretty sure there's not likely to be any here. A well-behaved 17,000 crowd. The victorious Danes. Brilliant riding from them. They deserve their positions in the World Team Final 91. So we wait for confirmation of the position. Hans Nielsen there, Danish team captain, third in the individual World Championships this year. Well, he must be quite pleased. I'm sure that the Danish team were confident enough to have expected a win tonight, having never been beaten in an international meeting at Vojens in Denmark, which is where we are. Still waiting for the official standings. And there they are then. So Denmark win by a record amount, 51 points, absolutely dominating this World Teams Final 91 from Sweden, from the USA current holders down in third, from England in last place. Well, from me, Keith Ewan, on Eurosport, it's goodbye from us.
Eurosport.